Welcome to the Stars in the Making with the mission to inspire and frame the future. The star is the digital artist Sang Cho, founder of SungSaga series. Born in South Korea, his parents moved to US when he was 100 years old. Raised in Michigan, studied at Pratt Institute, Brooklyn, New York, digital arts. On this episode, the artist articulates his own worst hardships and how he transformed them into purposeful work by sharing the moral behind the tales that commented in reality and relatable to others, and how one should see their own challenges as opportunity for growth. The SungSaga founder expresses belief in God as a Christian Catholic and gratitude to his parents and younger brother for being there when he needed the most. Please, let's welcome the star, Sang Cho. Hey guys, welcome to the Stars in the Making. Today, I'm so excited. This episode, I'm here with Sang Cho, the founder of SungSaga, and he's gonna explain how he uses his story to help people overcoming depression and all that stuff. Anyways, I'm gonna pass the ball to him and let's go for it. Welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I'm really excited.
How you doing?
Good, thank you. And I hope that you're doing great too. I was really worried about this particular interview because there's a lot that I'd like to talk about, especially when it comes to sharing my experiences.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to the Stars in the Making. Man, I'm so excited just seeing your story, your art. It's so beautifully made, and how you use your stories into helping other people overcoming depression and all that stuff, and how you went through explaining deeply your story.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so excited for it. So please introduce yourself and let's get to it.
My name is Sang Cho. I have a very interesting history because I was born in South Korea, Busan, and then I was just 100 days old when I moved to America, where I was raised in Michigan all throughout my childhood until high school, where I graduated in Novi High School. And then I went to New York for college and Brooklyn named Pratt Institute for my degree in 2D animation and minor in philosophy.
Oh, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So how do you got that? It's where do you got the inspiration to do animation?
That's another funny story because I wish I can say that I got it from my family. My mom and my dad are both biologists, different fields, but no one in my family is a really creative person. The only person I can think of is my uncle, who is still in Korea. He's a director and producer in his own way.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know him personally as much as other family members, and so really my inspiration for doing what I do as an animator just came from whatever I liked most in my experiences. Yeah, I just remember spending a lot more time with cartoons like SpongeBob SquarePants, Adventure Time, the classics, but also even experimental and narratively driven stories, short films like Paperman, I think it was called.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a Disney shorts of dialogue less, black and white story of romance and whatnot. I was really driven by stories that just show and not tell.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, show, don't tell. It's a classic kindergarten tip that any teacher would tell you, because showing is trying to use the language of just visual language in general, instead of trying to spoon feed you information. Anyone who goes through class will easily get tired of when someone tries to tell you something. I remember when my dad would always tell me to do the chores or other things, and I would always be hesitant, like any other child would be. But over time, living by myself, life showed me how like important it is to be responsible for those chores
Yeah.
more than like anyone could tell me of like doing them itself. So that even applies to like how I enjoyed those like animations too, when they just show me the consequences of actions more than like tell me like how I should be like thinking and whatnot.
Right.
That's how I like to structure my animation as well. A lot of my thought process behind producing like my stories and like motion pictures comes from the idea that what do I want to say, and I'll get to this later, the second point.
Right.
Is it true? First thing about like what I want to like say. Just like how those other short films told me, or not told me, showed me like how actions have consequences, I started to realize more than anything else just how much my actions matter. And of course there's a lot of other factors that like influenced how I thought throughout my childhood.
Right.
But more importantly, like it's through those stories that I realized just how important my life is, and how I first came like across these like thinking about what matters in life, like how I should prioritize certain things over others. It was very like messy.
What do you mean by messy?
Yeah, I think this is like this like first step towards something everyone goes through: depression, anxiety, and other like mental like health issues.
That's right. I mean, as I was reading your story, that's really, inspired me in how you were explaining everything into details, like how you use your own feelings, like depressed,
Yeah.
and then you put it into your art.
Yeah.
And that's so inspiring.
Thank you.
So explain a little bit more so the audience can understand.
Yeah, of course. When I was growing up through childhood, I didn't really have many friends. I preferred to spend my time alone because it was the most convenient. I could do whatever I want, imagine things however I want. It saved like time to like, come up with creative ideas. I didn't have to like argue with anyone else. And I was thought to have Asperger's syndrome. Do you
Right.
know like Asperger's syndrome?
Right.
Kind of a spectrum where it pushes me to like be more independent, but all of those factors like led me like to this like way of thinking of how, because I matter, I should be the one to take my life into my own hands.
Right.
Like I realized very like quickly that no one is going to like make me into the person that I should be other than myself. I am always the one who has to like press the gas pedal, where like life is like driving a car in which like
I love that.
yeah, everyone's driving a car, and in order to do something in life, you have to first
have
like
to press the gas.
press the gas pedal. And I was so hyper fixated in like pressing the gas pedal. I wanted to
At the very young age, you
yeah.
already had these kind of thoughts.
yeah.
Wow.
It was and like sure, like I was alone like thinking about these things, but because I was alone trying to come up with my own ideas of like, oh, it would be fun if a story did this, or if like a character did that. That's how I applied those like analogies or like references of reality to myself, where like, oh, I should be like this. I should be like as courageous or brave as this character, or
Yeah.
I should be like I should grow. Simple as that. And I was so desperate in trying to become the best version of myself, even as a kid, that I kind of went overboard. That's I think
When you
yeah.
say you were so desperate, what do you really mean?
Yeah, because I knew that there was something that people liked. Because I knew there was such thing as goodness. I wanted to be like an example of that. I wanted to be good. I wanted to be not just good to others that are my friends, but good to who are just strangers to me, good to even people who are like, haven't really treated me well. I was like very hesitant to like fight back. I didn't really like arguing as much. It wasn't until I like grew into like high school that I tried to like raise up my voice and whatnot, but I was very laid back. And that's probably because I was like alone in that sense. And going back to like the idea of like trying to strive for goodness like on my own way, because I had such limited knowledge like when I was younger, and because of how I was alone, I was relying on my own amount of insights and experience to try to reach that goodness. Because again, I thought that because my life is in my own hands, I should be the only because I'm the only one who can like do something, I should be the one responsible like for those things.
Right.
And so
Wow, that's powerful.
yeah. But I think it's powerful in like the dangerous way that I mentioned before. Because,
Right.
yeah, like me thinking that I am the one in control of my life, that made me forget that life is not meant to be lived alone. Like I used to think that, if I couldn't do this without anyone's help, then I'm not worthy of like being like recognized as like a good person, or that I shouldn't be like rewarded certain like gifts or like rewarded in general.
Right,
like
right.
obviously like, it's great to like give someone like something they're owed for doing a good thing.
Right.
But I was so desperate to like be that example that I didn't focus on like goals. I didn't focus on like the methods. I just thought like if I just did this, then that'll lead me towards like being the best version. And so I was skipping steps. I was forgetting like those important like origins of like, again, life is not meant to be lived alone. And the fact that I just didn't know enough yet, that drove me into anxiety and depression. And that's
And-
yeah.
Yeah, wow. And how you talk about this depression and how do you overcame that?
Yeah. Like how I overcame that. I mean, it's nothing special. And I feel like a lot of people like, I want to like tell like the people this simply, like depression is more than just like feeling sad. I'm sure everyone knows that. But it's also the belief in the lie that you can't do anything about it. Just like how I was thinking that because my life is in my own hands, I have to be the only one to be like control it and like conquer it. But when in reality, that's far from the truth. Like no one can do things alone, and there's nothing wrong with asking for help. In fact, the first step that helped me out of depression was actually being open about it to my family. My family didn't really like force me into things. Surprisingly enough,
Wow.
Even though I was Korean, like the stereotypical like tiger mom or like controlling dad.
That should be my next question. So because we have this, like for you, I get these stories. Like sometimes when you were a kid, parents they force you to be something. Either become a doctor or whatever the case may be. They think that is a safe path.
Yeah.
But it seems like for you was different.
Yeah, and there's something about that parenting style that I want to touch on. But for me, my parents didn't want to impose a sort of like idea for me. They wanted me to be able to like be independent on my own rights and just be diligent about it.
Wow.
So of course they would still like discipline me about like you did something bad, like you should know that it costs something, like you should know that it matters. And so that's how they disciplined me. But they never got mad at me for like not being a doctor or it being any sort of like way, which I think that a lot of people like were kind of led to believe in that too.
Right.
Like a lot of people want to like have their children be happy, And these days, I see a lot of families try to take a hands-off approach, where you can just do whatever you want. In fact, if you want to do this, I'll help you in doing that. And maybe like some families be like very conditional about that.
Right.
One is such example that I found is how like people say like, because they like shelter their children a lot, they often blame other people for like being the misery of like their children. Like, why can't my kid do this, or why can't my kid be called that?
That's
or
right.
like that kind of spoiling behavior,
Right.
which I think maybe that's kind of harsh. But as an example, I put it like that. Like, and not to say that my parents did that to me too, but like because hands off directly results in like not having as much guidance, people will still try to, or not try to, people will, in fact, like judge others without even having like a play or a role in their lives. You know how like you're driving and then someone cuts you off. You think to yourself, why couldn't that person been more patient? Or yeah, like back in the family example, like why can't my kid just be a little more like responsible, even though the parent kind of played a role in like not forcing their kids to be like that. So of course, it's not to say that like controlling your kids like that is like the best answer, but like anything in life, it's always a balance. It's always trying to measure like whether if it's necessary to like be this way or that way. And I feel like people get so caught up with the end goal that they don't really pay attention much to the present. They focus more on the future and lose sight of now.
That's true.
Yeah.
Again, you were talking about this. This is something that I used to see myself. I used to think about the future all the time. And without enjoying, thinking that, okay, I should enjoy the now. Like we're right here. The future is very unpredictable. And I think you talking about it, that just gave me a little like more perspective of my own life.
Yeah.
So, so talk to us about it. So how do you help yourself into now? Are you still thinking like that, or you have a different perspective now?
No, like I try to represent this in like my college capstone project. It's on SungSaga YouTube channel right now.
Yes.
It's called A Glimmer, and
we're gonna get to the characters now very soon. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but like how I try to represent my overcoming of that way of thinking is kind of represented in like the overarching like part of that, in which because the character is so focused on what he wants to be, he loses sight of like the gifts that he have now. And that goes into like the idea that we believe in the lie that we can't do anything about like where we are now, and that's why we feel depressed, not just because like we're sad about how things are, but we feel helpless that there's nothing we can do, when in reality there is something we can do about it. And that is, as I was saying before, being open about it. Like, family is infamous. Like, a lot of people say they got, like, traumatized as a kid from, like, how their parents react to how they behave, or that their parents have problems that they didn't, like, solve before, like, starting up a family. And so they, like, became really awful examples in ways that I just like sympathize for. And I'm not saying like I'm not trying to discredit any of those scenarios or situations either.
Right.
It's just that by being open to your family about like how you feel, regardless of like what they say, you're not trying to like say that you're weak. Well, even though it is a sign of vulnerability. Vulnerability is not always weakness. And more importantly, it's you trying to seek answers. It's you trying to seek like the truth of it all. Like, because our families are like the people we spend the most time with until like we can like move out of the house. But some people don't have that luxury, me including. But family, like you always spend the most time with family, and technically because of that, family always brings out the worst in you. And so
What do you
can,
mean by that?
Yeah.
That's really deep.
Yeah.
Family always brings out the worst on you?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
What do you mean?
it means how, like, when you spend time with friends, you purposefully choose to spend time with friends because you like them, because you have a lot more things in common with them. Or, I think this is the more, like, hidden benefit about friends. Your friends don't know you as much as your family does. Because you spend the most time with your family knows, like, your flaws and your, like, interests. Friends, you can just behave in a way to kind of hide that problem slash flaw that you either are ashamed of or you're just afraid to, like, dig into. Family, bringing out the worst in you, although it's hard, I see that as the first step to growing out of that depression. And again, like, it'll be hard, like, talking about it regardless of, like, whether if they're supportive of you or not. But first step to coming out of depression is to help you realize whether if the lies you believe in are real or not. And so that actually helps me bring up the second point about whether if something is true or not. Yeah, first step is what am I saying, and second step is it true? The most beautiful art often are ones that are universally known to be beautiful and relatable, applicable, like not just at the time it was made, but to the present now. Like, the ones that I saw before when I was a kid, that's helped me realize, the messages that they were trying to show, the consequences of their actions. It's not just like, it would be, like, interesting if this happened. Like, it's to show me, or it's an attempt to show me the truth behind certain actions. It's meant to help, like, portray a life that not everyone has the opportunity to actually experience, or it's supposed to help a perspective that other people may not have the tools to really think about, which, again, going back to the family part,
right?
Because family brings out the worst in you, it helps you, like, measure how well you are at home, because when you're with friends, of course you're going to have a good time. You've conditioned yourself to be that way with your friends since your friends don't know you. But in family, because your family knows your, like, strengths and flaws, if you're not good at home, can you say that you're good at all? Because,
not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all.
So yeah, and thank God, my, like, brother and my dad, my mom, and other people who I've opened up to, like, helped me get out of that mentality that, like, I literally went up to my dad and my brother and said, Hyung, Dad, I don't think I can finish this college degree. I feel like I've just failed so immensely that the only way for me to actually prove whether if I can, like, be successful or not is if you just cut off support from me. Like, imagine that.
Wow.
I just went up to my dad and said, like, Dad, I'm no longer your son.
This was in the very beginning,
like,
when you started college?
Not even, like, beginning. It was like the my final year that I couldn't finish this one class that was mandatory for me to graduate and get my diploma. I was so ashamed about that, thinking that, as an adult, I should, like, know what I'm doing. I should, like, be able to do things. But again, in reality, like, life is not meant to be lived alone. I don't know everything immediately, and I shouldn't have to, like, hold that pressure onto me. And by revealing that to my family revealed to me, like, that's not, like...
So what are you saying is open up is very important?
Yes. Like, and that's the thing. It's not enough to, like, just open up to your friends.
Yeah.
Like, of course, that's always going to be a good thing, but your friends are not going to know everything about you, which, again, is why family can be so important. And sure, again, family's going to be hard trying to talk to, and whether if they support you or not, that's going to vary. But regardless, truth isn't just, like, subjective. Like, a lot of people want to say my truth. Truth doesn't work that way. Sure, certain situations calls for different actions from for different people, but life doesn't pick favorites. Life always works the same way as it does for you, me, and everyone else. In fact, the reason why we even feel sad is because we know that things can be better. Just like how in the example of the car, like if someone cuts someone off, like you would say, why couldn't that person be more patient? Like you know that other people can be better, and you knew that for yourself even, and so you try to like pressure that, or like you're like centralizing all that blame onto yourself, just as much as you try to like hold other people accountable, except because you try to like believe in yourself and
accountability,
your own power. Yeah, like
that's right.
Yeah, like sometimes not even that can be enough, and that's okay. Like that's when I realized, when I like told my brother and my dad that way of thinking, that I have to be the only one to do this in order to be successful, or at least know that I'm worthy of love, was wrong.
Wow.
Like
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you show your story, how you showcase it in your characters? Let's talk about it, about them.
Yeah.
How many characters you have now?
Seven.
SungSaga.
Yeah, seven.
Seven.
Yeah, like,
so can you explain, summarize it, like 7 of them?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I guess one in my channel, the first one, is a clown named Ron. And it's more of a comedic skit. I don't have a bigger plan for him yet, but Ron is someone that, you know, you want to stay back from. Like, he's supposed to be a clown. He's supposed to be funny. But it was inspired by a voice clip by a different channel called John Tron. And he was saying like, what? I'm funny? I'm a funny guy because I'm just like a clown? I suppose you think I shouldn't have a gun either. And so, he quickly like reveals that, you know, not everything like goes the way that it made appear. Especially when I made the introduction, like to be like a funny, like meet this character kind of like intro. And so that's juxtaposition, that comparison really like brings out that unexpected like comedy into it.
wow.
Like,
And
yeah.
what is the most important character that you have?
The most important character so far.
Let's listen to it.
Yes. Is a character from the first episodes that I've released for my ongoing series in First Creation. His name is Doug. He is a disembodied head. He's literally floating. He has glasses, a funky afro / hairdo, and he's not meant to be, one can say he's a godhead, but he's not meant to be like the creator of all things. Sure, he can like pull things like out of his hair, like how big his hair is supposed to hide like all these other objects and whatnot. It's like hammer space.
Right.
When people, like characters can pull out like a hammer out of their pocket out of nowhere. Yeah, like his hair is hammer space. And so like he's not the creator of all things, but he's still like constructing, like building things around a world that seems like disorderly and like uncertain. He tries to like put meaning into things. And like I am heavily inspired by like the Gospels. Even though he's not God, like he is meant to be someone that's just trying to say through his actions that this all matters. This all has a purpose, and he will
This all matters.
Yeah.
What do you mean this
Yeah.
all matters?
Yeah, like everything we do matters. This, like Doug is also like another example of like my experience, where like, because again I was in the mindset that I have to be responsible for everything, I thought all I had to do was just keep knowing, keep doing something from that knowledge, even though my like actual like knowledge of things was so limited. And like I thought, like if I just do that, then it'll lead me to the next step, and I'll keep going, and then I'll be happy again. That future thinking. But soon after I had that talk with my family,
Right.
I realized no amount of knowledge ever made me want to do what matters more. That's like,
That's deep.
yeah, like that's how I realized what evil is and how full I was of that evil thought. Not that I'm saying I'm either a good or bad person, but like first step, what is evil? Evil essentially is something that goes against goodness, and in Christianity, like God is good, and so sin is anything that's is either avoidant of God or completely opposite of God's and His will. In fact, sin.
That's right.
Yeah, sin comes from like an archery term that means miss the mark. So if it's not exactly how things should be, then it's sin. So because I like no amount of knowledge made me want to do what matters. Like I could have all of the stuff, like my drawing pen, the software, like my homework right in front of me, and I can just do it, but I just choose not to. That's evil. Like something that actually makes me not do what I ought to do. That's like not just because I don't want to, but because I don't think that it'll actually make a difference. Which again, depression like tries to convince us of that lie that nothing we do matters. When in reality, we matter, and even us not doing something because we think it doesn't matter matters. And so like having your life in your hands is less about you trying to be like your own like savior, as like Nietzsche would say. Like you have to be your own Übermensch, your own like savior. Like that's not like how like we ought to like think about things, because God from the gospel made us not so that we like be like our own person, but so that we can share our life with Him and the goodness that He wants for us. Like if God is good, He wants us to be happy.
Exactly.
And because He made us, then He knows what makes us happy. And all it takes is just asking for help, which again, I did it through my family. That universal truth of that if you just ask, then you shall receive. Ask and you shall receive. Like that's making me realize how like what evil actually is. Yet the second point of like, you know, how evil like I was actually in. How much like I thought that because I'm like continuing to like do something or grow and whatnot, then that's enough. Like that means I'm on the right path. But again, because I was still relying on knowledge that I didn't know, I didn't realize until then that everything that I tried to do on my own without really diving deeper into like why I do things.
Yeah.
Again, I said I was skipping steps.
Yeah.
I was like forgetting important like beginning like facts that I should like start off with. Because of that, I was actually ruining my opportunities to actually become the best, instead relying on my best. I feel like you know, people want to say like, you know, just do your best and then that should be enough. And that's why people say like, you know, why can't my kids, you know, be this, or why can't my kid like have this or whatnot, because they're doing their best. Isn't that enough? When in reality, I think we all realize this, that reality is harsh, and it's harsh in that it always tells us that sometimes like it reminds us just how human we are. And if we're talking like in the grand scheme of the universe, we're just a small speck in an infinite vacuum, ever-growing vacuum.
Wow.
And like, but remember, we matter. Everything we do matters. We're not just random accidents that happen to be here. Like, we are driven by the truth that we are not meant to be living life alone. And every time that we try to like criticize others of that, every time I look at myself and see that, why aren't I like patient? Why aren't I like humble? Why aren't I courageous? Why can't I just, you know, do the homework that is in front of me and instead just rely on like comforts from like watching YouTube videos or whatnot? Like,
Right.
that's that just goes to show how broken we are. That's not like supposed to be depressing. It's just the truth that's supposed to point you to opening up to yourself, to your family, friends, and the most important part, like God.
Awesome.
Like, yeah, I feel like people think that, oh, because God doesn't want to do what I want to do, he must be bad. He must not want me to be happy. Like, again, that limited knowledge of like thinking that we know what's best, even though no matter how old you are, there's always going to be new lessons waiting for you that if you aren't open to, you're going to miss it.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
That's really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So now, everything that you just said, you explained to us. What is the message that you want to send to someone who may be struggling, or he's going through all these things that we already talk about? What is the message you want to send out there?
Yeah. First message. The first thing to anything, I think, comes from like the hardest thing to ever do, surrender. And I don't mean surrender as in like giving up. Like, oh well, like I might as well just like wait for an opportunity. Like, cause I mean, I'm so small that what can I do? Like, again, every action matters. And so surrender is less about like giving up and more about letting go. Like, we always have desires, and desires is not meant to be a bad thing. The reason why we're sad is because we know something can be better, and so it's meant to tell us that, there's a way to make things better. But desire should also be balanced, just like how like control should be in life. Like, it's not better to like be hands off, nor is it to be better to be hands on. It's always a balance. And so surrender also requires that level of like prudence, of knowing like how much should I actually hold on to this idea or something that I think is like an absolute fact, when in reality, again, if you always think you are ready, then you won't be ready to like take on the opportunities that might come to you because of perspective or whatnot. They say like luck favors the prepared mind, because the unprepared mind like loses it. I think it comes from that like saying of how if you don't let go of like the desire, like your own knowledge, relying on your own powers, or like wanting stuff that barely matters, that will rarely make you happy, you won't be able to like progress as far as you might hope. And that even includes surrendering like.
So basically, what are you saying is do things that make you happy. Isn't it?
Like, I think the big word there is not what makes you happy. I think the big thing there is what makes God happy. And if you don't want to like, think about it so religiously, think about what like makes everyone happy. Like, like everyone knows the command. Like, there's 2 commands, golden rules. Like, first one, love God with all your heart. And then the second rule that Jesus claims to be just as important as that, love one another as you love yourself. Like, you need to be able to love everyone, and that includes yourself.
Wow.
Meaning, like, you have to, like, every time you look at others and like think, oh, you want to criticize them, you want to judge them, think of yourself. Like, think of yourself that way too. Like, you wouldn't want to treat yourself any differently than how you treat yourself. Otherwise, you're creating bias. You're creating like prejudice. You're being discriminatory. That's why like surrender is not meant to be like a giving up kind of like standpoint, but more like letting go, of trying to like release what makes you happy. Because again, we're all running on limited knowledge.
Awesome.
And so that's like surrender is supposed to help you come to that knowledge, which, as I mentioned before, like no amount of knowledge ever made me want to do the right thing, but at the very least, it helps me like create a better structure as to how I should walk my path. Because like when you're driving, there's signs that help us like go at what speed or what direction we can go to. Mm-hmm. Signs always point to something. Truth always points to something.
I love it.
And so we have to follow those signs, let go of what we want so that we can see the signs in our lives to go and do what we are pointed towards.
Beautiful said.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I love this message. I love this episode.
Yeah.
And man, it's really amazing because your project is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't really get to talk about the way I represent the story, but I can do that right now.
Yeah. We have few minutes.
Okay.
Almost.
Yeah.
We're
No
almost
problem.
at the end. Yeah, but
Yeah.
go ahead, please.
Yeah, in storytelling, like everything matters. Like any director will tell you, like the props and the background matters, the characters and like their gestures matter. And so how I try to structure my stories according like to the message that I want to say, I always ask myself like, what is this for? Who is this like? If it's a character, who is this meant to like represent? Is he like me or like a general idea of someone, or is he also a kind of like virtue, goal, or whatnot that can or can't be what he wants or needs to be? And essentially, the like whole point of that character is to show that all throughout the journey he goes through, he changes. If a person who doesn't change is a person who's stuck, and change can come across as hard truths that may make them feel sad, but by being defeated in a way, it helps them realize that, you know, oh, like I was wrong about something. I should like take this lesson to turn it into something else. Just like how I was saying, like see the signs in life that is truth that helps you point towards to becoming the best version of yourself.
Wow.
And then like that's just the characters and the background and the assets that they interact with. That's also like a tool, not for like the characters, but for the viewers to like symbolize what each action does. Like 'cause just, I don't like narration. I don't like to spoon feed people like information. I'd rather want people to see something and just come like with their own kind of ideas of what it could mean. And that's why like my episodes seem kind of like abstract, but over time I hope that the episodes like can be like rewatched all together so that the clues that were evident in the first episodes can like be rewarded in like future episodes, and like the direction of where like the story goes can be foreshadowed from those previous episodes.
Wow.
Yeah, because like it's never too late. It's never too late to just accept yourself now, offer whatever you got, because again, everything matters, you matter, and then ask, what should I do? Ask yourself, ask God, like, what can you do? And just be open to the opportunity. Like, let go of whatever you think you know is the truth.
Wow.
And strive for the truth. And that's what I hope, my stories are.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. So you want to say just a shout out, like we have a few seconds.
Yeah.
You want to say hi to your parents? Send a shout out,
Yeah.
please.
안녕하세요. 예, 할머니, 할아버지, 삼촌, 고모, 예, 아버지, 어머니. 너무 사랑하고 너무 고맙습니다. Hola, mi novia bonita, Saray Susana Fernandez Bolivar. Te amo mucho y Dios te bendiga. Hi, Hyung. I love you very much, and I don't just mean that like knowing that you helped me a lot, but I am always grateful to have you as my brother. And thanks everyone who were watching me. Thank you for everyone who prayed for me. And I hope that if you find this video, that you can find even more great things coming in your life. And as always, I thank God with all my heart for having this opportunity in front of me. Take care. God bless.
Thank you so
Peace.
much. Wow, you were amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here again. And again, I'm so glad for having you here, and we're going to present all your work. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Of course, anytime.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us in the Stars in the Making. As I always say, believe in yourself, never ever give up. So if you have an idea, please keep working on it, keep believing in yourself. Think positively. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, I always say. All right, Stars in the Making, and we out.